Today I'm going to show you what I'm going to pack to live like a homeless person for 5 days while I attend the Get On ADV Fest in Mojave, California at the Rawhide Adventures Zakar facility. Every year Revzilla, in partnership with Rever, put on what's called the Get On ADV Fest. They do it in 2 locations, in Mojave, California, and the other one is in is South Dakota, over by the Black Hills. Full disclosure, I was actually invited to go down to the Get On ADV Fest, and who am I to say no, right? I know that you guys like to watch me suffer, so instead of taking the truck and trailering down so I can be comfortable in the massively windy desert in April, I'm going to be motocamping. So I'm going to show you what I am going to pack for what will be a 5 to 6 day trip. It's 920 miles from my driveway to the Rawhide Adventures Zakar compound in Mojave. I've got to do that twice, plus the riding I'm going to do while I'm there. So I'm looking at quite possibly anywhere from a 2,300 to 2,500 mile weekend, right? So the event runs from April 27th through that following Sunday. I am leaving a day early, and I'm going to camp on the way down there just to break up the miles and that distance, because I'm not looking to go for an iron butt certificate or anything like that. Don't care about all that. Maybe at some point in the future. Then while I'm down there, I'll be riding this and doing a bunch of demo rides and checking out the vendors and everything, because they really set that place up right. And then I have to ride that 920 miles back home the day after the thing is over too. So I'm going to be packing with the idea of being in one spot for multiple days in mind. I'm going to be packing for comfort on this trip. So I'm going to have a lot more on my bike than I normally would. This loadout will be different than how I'm going to pack for the Oregon BDR that I'm doing in July. And I will do a separate video on that. So let's get to it. Now for this trip, I will be using my Tillamook dry bag, my RTW or Round the World panniers, my Revelstoke bag, and very likely my Rogue dry bag as well. And I will talk about why I'm taking both it and the Tillamook later in the video. Okay, first we're going to start with the Revelstoke bag, and this is the easiest for me to talk about because it's always packed for any trip that I go on. This is what I keep my recovery gear in. For this trip specifically, I'll be taking 2 spare tubes. Normally, for a longer trip, I would only take one, the 21-inch tube for the front, because if I were to lose pressure in the rear tire, I could make that work for the back, and that saves weight and space. For this trip, being such a long pavement pound to get down there and back, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to take a tube for the front and for the back. And they will both be in here, along with my Fantic air compressor, my toolkit roll that I keep in here. It's just basic tools, plus a couple of tire spoons. Zip ties and duct tape in here. You can fix almost anything with zip ties and duct tape. And the duct tape that I've been using recently is the Gorilla Tape brand. Really fantastic stuff. 2 of these. This one is specifically for the front. I will also have one in there for the rear tire. Rolled up in here, I'm also going to have a towel that I would use as like a ground cloth. So if I do have to stop and change a tube, if I get a flat, I can keep stuff off of the ground directly. Even with that stuff in there, that only goes to there. So I have plenty of room for another tube, which I already have. I just need to put it in here, and a ground cloth. Now, this represents all of the gear that will be in my Round the World panniers on the sides of the bike. The Revelstoke bag will also be in one side. I am going to put the Revelstoke bag in the side with my air mattress, my pillow, my sleeping quilt. That's right, I'm going with a Enlightened Equipment 20-degree quilt this time. My tent, the Tiger Wall UL3, and the tent footprint. That will go in that side. And I put the Revelstoke bag in that side because it's heavy. All the other heavier items, like toiletries, my mess kit, first aid, light, seat, and folding table will be in the other side to offset the weight of this. I also will have one, these are 48 ounce Nalgene bottles, and they go one in each side. Why am I going with a quilt this time? It is far, far lighter than my sleeping bag that I have, the Diamond Park 20 degree. Two, it packs so much smaller. This is about probably like 2/3 the size around of what the Diamond Park does in its compression sack. And it is shorter than the Diamond Park generally is in its compression sack. This is not a compression sack. This is just a packing sack. If I had a compression sack for it, I could get this thing down to the size of a grapefruit even. I don't want to do that. I want to leave it a little bit pliable, so when I put it in the bag, it will form around other stuff. The Tigerwall UL3 tent packs a lot smaller than my Blacktail 2 hotel tent, and it's also a lot lighter. That's why I went with these two pieces of gear, are new for this year from Motocamping Nerd. Affiliate link in the description. That's why I went with them for this year, because I needed stuff that packed lighter and smaller for a couple of long rides where I'll be in a different spot every day, so as to get stuff off the top of the bike and maybe not have to use the Tillamook or the Rogue bag at all. Here we go. We're gonna pack one side and then the other. I will be using my dry pods inside of the bags, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna pack it straight into the bag. These are the same inside capacity as this. You just pack this and then it slides right in. When you get to your destination, the bags stay on the bike and you just pull this thing straight out. Something to note is the Round the World panniers themselves are not waterproof. They're a little bit water resistant, but water will get in there. The dry pods make whatever's in here waterproof. No water will get in there. Rebel Stoke bag goes at the bottom because it's the heaviest. And then the tent, because out of all of these items, it's the next heaviest. Tent footprint. Tent stakes. And for the purposes of this specific trip, I'm taking a lot of extra tent stakes. It gets very, very windy. It was just the wind apocalypse last year. Tents were getting flattened everywhere. So I'm taking a lot of extra tent stakes to use all of my guy lines on the fly and hold everything down. And all of my gear will be in the tent so they don't end up over there. Pillow, headlamp will be in the tank bag with my camera stuff. And I do that specifically, particularly if I'm getting to the campsite a little bit late. The first thing I do when I stop the bike is I take the headlamp out of the tank bag, which is right in front of me, throw it around my neck. That way it's there, it's ready for when it gets dark, I just turn it on. Air mattress, and then the quilt. These little straps will not be flopping around. What I do is I just tuck it back up into the little sliding keeper there. My entire sleep system is within one bag. And that's the reason why I'm not going to be putting this quilt into a compression sack. Because yes, I could get a lot smaller, but once you get that thing smaller, even with feather down, it starts getting like really hard. If you keep it a little bit pliable, it will form around the other things that are in there and allow you to pack it easier. Now, in this end is where one of my Nalgene's full of water goes, which I need to loosen the straps, so it'll do that. But everything on the bag is still dusty and dirty, so the straps are a little bit cantankerous. This bag is done. What I will put in this, I will put a towel. That's a light item. And then this just cinches up. Just for a point of reference, I did just weigh that bag, 24.5 pounds, and that is before I put the water in the Nalgene and I put the towel in that back pocket. On to the next bag. This side of the bike is going to have my toiletries that I put in a Snug Pack box packing cube. My mess kit, along with utensils. I have a knife. I have just a couple of packets of just like oatmeal, like, oh crap, I don't have any food type thing, right? And I usually keep probably one Mountain House in there. For purposes of this trip, all the meals are provided as part of the event, so I don't need to worry about my meals, but I probably will put a few snacks in there. I will have the first aid kit on this side. I'm going to have my camp chair, and I'm going to take my table so I have some place to use my Jetboil to make my coffee in the morning. And in the Jetboil, I have the pan holder attachment, plus the fuel canister is in there also, and the burner. Everything is self-contained within this. Another Nalgene bottle on this side. My little, what everybody calls the nipple lamp. That will hang inside of my tent. Okay, in the interest of this, I'm putting the table in first, because it's tall and I want to pack everything else around it and stack it up so it's even when I roll the top of the bag over. Mess kit, toiletries, the first aid kit on top, that way if anything happens, God forbid, I can get to it quickly. Jetboil, nipple lamp, chair, first aid kit on top. And the Nalgene bottle on the floor. Now it is worth noting, I do actually have a little bit more room, so you can see how this is offset. This is where the table's at, so I have actually quite a bit more room right here. It should be said that if you have extra room in your bags, does not mean that you need to use up that room just for the sake of evening stuff out or to use up the room. Don't do that. You still want to stay as light as possible, but because it will be on the top and easily accessible, and I do have room over here, because I'm going on such a long road trip, and I don't know what the weather is going to be like all the way down there, because the weather in California has been a little bit out of the normal this year. Don't know if you've heard or not. I will put an extra layer, like a fleece or something, on this side, on the top, so if I start getting cold or whatever, I can just stop, unroll the bag, take that out, and just keep on going. Nalgene bottle, right there, and you'll notice I have not put anything back here. So this is usually where my Jetboil and my first aid kit would go. I packed them in here just for the purposes of the video to show that I could do it. The first aid kit and the Jetboil will be back here. So, and the Jetboil will go in first aid kit on top. That way I can just open up this one spot right at the first aid kit, and the Jetboil's over here too. That will leave me more room because some of my clothes will go in on this side, like the aforementioned extra layer. That's probably what I will put in this bag, as the extra layer. Now, just weighed that bag, and before I put in the water and the extra layers of clothing for riding clothing in that bag, I'm at 17.5 pounds. So I'm about 7 pounds difference side to side. That's why I would put my extra layers of clothes in this bag to even the load out. That takes care of basically everything I would need for a long distance trip, except for having changes of clothes. This is what my clothing will go in. Pair of shoes. I also will leave room in this bag for any swag that I will gather while I'm at the event. Also, and that all of that stuff won't even take up that much room in this bag, because this bag's actually fairly large. It's double or triple the size of the Rogue dry bag, and the Rogue is what I took a week's worth of clothes with me to Maui here not too long ago. Me being who I am and what I do, I also will carry batteries and camera support gear in here. The camera that I'm using right here and most of its extras will be in the tank bag on top of the bike, because this is the camera that I'll be using for all the interview style videos and the point and shoot and all of that stuff. But all the GoPro related stuff and some support stuff for this camera will be right in here. This bag will be relatively light, maybe 12 pounds at the very most, probably not even that. So I don't mind putting it on top of the bike. I originally said I may also take the Rogue dry bag. I honestly, because I was able to get all of my gear in the side panniers, I honestly don't think that I will take it, because even picking up extra swag and whatnot, I'll be able to put it all in here, even with my 5 or 6 days worth of clothing that will be in here. This is considering traveling to and from an event that I will be on the road for 5 to 6 days. Meals are provided while you're at the event. So that's why you didn't see me pack any food, any extra water, or anything like that. One other thing that will be in this bag is some extra pronghorn straps and rock straps, so I can take a hoodie with me and just strap it to the outside of the bag, because a hoodie will take up a lot of space. It's still really light, but it takes up a lot of space. But I could strap it to the outside of the bag, or I could strap, you know, like a swag bag to the outside of this. That is what I'm going to pack for the Get On ADV Fest in Mojave, California at the Rawhide Adventures Zakar compound. That event starts on April 27th and runs through that Sunday, April 30th. Myself, I am leaving April 26th, and I won't be getting back until May 1st. That adds 2 days to the trip. That's technically a 6-day trip, just allowing for travel time. If you have plans to go to this event, look me up. I'm going to be motocamping there. So if you're going to be at the Get On ADV Fest in Mojave, California this year, April 27th to April 30th, come look me up. Once again, I would like to thank RevZilla for inviting me to the Get On ADV Fest in Mojave, California this year. Really awesome that they did that, and I thank them very much for the opportunity to go down and check it out. This has been an Explore Adventure Moto production. Today I'm going to be showing you what I am going to pack to live like a homeless person for 5 days at the Get On ADV Fest in Mojave, California at the Ride Adventures Zakar Camp. No. Almost made it. So close. God. Ugh. That first cut was so close. There's nobody over there. I'm just talking to my tools.